The judge who helped an illegal alien escape gets nothing more than a little slap on the wrist. How nice. Another needless murder. I hate covering these things, but sadly we've got to, so we're going to. And how much do you really matter? I'm going to show you a video that is going to make you think. It's very cool. Welcome to the Jay Sheldon Show for a Thursday. Hello, good morning. We are live on YouTube and we're live on Rumble. If you haven't done it yet, please hit the subscribe button or the follow button, whichever platform you're on. And of course, all of our great sponsors are right down there in our description. Pull that down, check it out, get yourself some deals. I have new headsets tonight because the old ones, one side finally crapped out and they're a little weird, so I'm still getting used to it. But we're going to move on anyway, because that's what we do. Before we get started with our regular show, I just learned that we have lost an absolutely incredible artist. She was never a lister type entertainer, but she was in her own right unique. She had that raspy, amazing voice that you can't miss. A lot of places that are memorializing her online are using her song, It's a Heartache, because that was one of her biggest hits, but certainly not my favorite. I am going to get a strike for this, but I'm only going to play a little piece of it in remembrance of the late Bonnie Tyler. Yeah. Bonnie Tyler. It's a heartache. Man, what an absolute talent. She will be missed. She has she has passed. All right. Well, Judge Hannah Dugan. You remember this idiot? She was the one who helped the illegal alien evade ICE by helping him escape out a side door of her courthouse. She was charged, she was put on trial, she was convicted, and you know what she got? A freaking slap on the wrist. She is now former Milwaukee County Court Judge Hannah Dugan, but she walked out of a federal court yesterday with nothing more than a $5,000 fine after being convicted of felony obstruction for actively helping an illegal alien evade ICE agents outside her own courthouse. She could have got up to 5 years in prison. Federal sentencing guidelines calling for 15 to 21 months behind bars. But this 67-year-old scumball avoided any jail time in fact, not only no jail time, she didn't even get probation. A $5,000 fine. The defendant is 67 years old with no prior record. It says here, I don't think she has any correctional services needs. She has a lifetime of service to others. This is a person who's done a lot of good in our community. Yeah, by helping some illegal alien escape. That's U.S. District Judge Lynn Alderman from Wisconsin's Eastern District, appointed by Clinton back in 97. Federal prosecutors argued that Dugan violated her judicial oath, you think? But the judge ruled prison wasn't necessary, pointing to her decades of public service and otherwise law-abiding life. Yeah, so I've led a fairly law-abiding life for most of my existence of 68 years now. Am I 68? I forget. Anyway. So if I, rob a bank, do I get just a fine? Because, hey, I had a good life. I was a good community person. No, I go to prison. Not this idiot. Back in 2026, January 3rd, after her federal felony obstruction conviction, December 2025, she resigned. What, I'm sorry, they didn't fire her? She had to resign? She was facing impeachment in the legislature. She also endured the headache of a trial. Aw, ain't that too bad, the headache of a trial. And legal fees. Is the loss of your career and some minor inconveniences, like a $5,000 fine, is that commensurate with the crime? This minor slap on the wrist will not do anything to deter anybody else from trying this in the course of trying to help criminals evade ICE. That ain't happening. Law-abiding citizens like you and me, we face real consequences for far, far less. Dugan reportedly directed the illegal immigrant towards a back exit while ICE waited, essentially got a get-out-of-jail-free card, which not only betrayed her oath, but completely undermined immigration enforcement. Dugan convicted of aiding Eduardo Flores Ruiz, a Mexican national with a history of violent criminal charges, to escape. According to then DHS spokesperson Tricia McLaughlin, Flores Ruiz had a rap sheet including, are you ready? Strangulation and suffocation, battery, and domestic abuse. That's just the highlight reel. There's lots more. He was, thankfully, later deported from the U.S. So these idiot judges just continue to skate the law, fly right in the face of ICE agents trying to do their job, and they get a slap on the wrist. It ain't good news. Neither is this next story. Again, an illegal alien has murdered a co-worker. Collateral damage from Biden's border policies every single day. Yet another tragic tale that confirms what a terrible idea it was to just allow anybody to cross our borders. Also, a bit of a reminder that under the Biden-Harris admin, every town became a border town. And they deliberately spread this poison across the nation. June 29th, just a couple of weeks ago, in Coldwater, Michigan, a suburb which is in between Chicago and Detroit, 20-year-old worker at a pork processing plant reportedly got into an argument with a co-worker. Now, did the co-worker simply walk away? No. The 20-year-old allegedly chose violence. Haitian illegal immigrant Valmir Demsley fatally stabbed his co-worker, stabbed him to death. The accused, an illegal alien who was allowed into the country thanks to Biden-Harris catch and release program. Oh, look at this guy. What a brilliant pillar of the community. That's the scum right there. DHS has confirmed a suspect arrested for murder after he allegedly stabbed his co-worker to death at a Michigan meat processing plant is a Haitian illegal alien who was caught and released at the Texas border in 2024. ICE placed a detainer on him, and now he's charged with murder. The illegal alien barbarically stabbed his co-worker to death. The murderer was released unto American communities by the Biden administration. And Assistant DHS Acting Secretary Lauren Biz said, if it weren't for the reckless open border policies, this criminal would never have been in our country in the first place, and that victim would still be alive. We have lodged a detainer against Michigan not to release this dangerous criminal from jail without notifying ICE. After they Mirandized this ass, which, sorry, if you're an illegal alien, frankly, in my opinion, you don't have rights. You don't get Mirandized because you don't have rights. You're not a citizen of this country. Screw you. He allegedly admitted he argued with the victim, used the weapon, claimed it was because he headbutted me. What an ass. That was not corroborated by witnesses. There should be security cameras in this pork processing facility. Mike confirmed the eyewitness accounts. Police are in possession of the knife. Yet again, it's just not going to stop until we get rid of all of them. Now look, I told you again when we first covered this that I was not going to do the Charlie Kirk assassination trial every day on this show. But it seems in this hearing, preliminary hearing, mainly about what evidence can be entered during the trial, more and more and more things keep coming up, and I keep having to cover them. So here we go. Listen to this testimony from this expert. It is, listen very closely to what he has to say. Nope. I don't know. Wasn't my job. Within days, they dug up the dirt, paved over the crime scene, and removed the tent. And this guy, who is one of, if I'm not mistaken, one of the chief investigators, you heard his answers. No, I didn't know. Nope. Do you know who ordered it? Nope. Seriously? There are a lot of other things that came up. I'm not going to cover them all because I don't want to waste a lot of time. This thing is going to go off the rails. It already has. I told you about the DNA stuff on yesterday morning's show. I told you about this little piece of testimony that happened. It's it, it's unbelievable. It is an absolute nightmare. But they're going to keep on keeping on. We're going to keep on covering it when important things happen, just so's you know. All right. Blackout coffee. My favorite coffee on the planet. Oh my goodness, it is all done in house. They source premium specialty grade green coffee beans that are graded at 80 points or above on a 100-point scale, and specialty coffees grown at the perfect altitude, the right time of year, the best soil, then harvested at just the right time. They work with local co-ops and American farmers to harvest these beans and to grow them just the right way, and they have a strict adherence to a small batch roasting process. That means they only roast your beans after you place your order. Then they ship them out within 24 to 48 hours. Blackout coffee, roasted, packed, and shipped with lightning speed. That means you get the beans just days after they are roasted. Premium beans, highly controlled roasting process, and fast shipment. This is just the best. They've got pods too. You can order whole beans or you can order them already ground for you. Not a problem. They've got cold brew, flavored coffees that are unbelievable. You gotta check them out. If you pull down our description there, check out that link for Blackout Coffee. When you place your first order, and I encourage you to just try a single bag of whatever roast you like or whatever flavor you like, give it a try. Seriously, give it a shot. You won't be disappointed. Use that code J20, JAY20 at checkout, and you'll get 20% off your first order. In addition, Blackout always has great sales going on. Please do check them out. And we are so proud to have them. It's an American company. John Santos and the gang over there are just fantastic people to work with. We love these guys to pieces. And thank you, Blackout, for being part of the show. I really, seriously, I hope you do head over there and get yourself a bag. Try it. You'll be back. You'll be back for more. I know you will. All right. Believe it or not, you remember we were bitching and complaining over the last couple of days about this idiotic Supreme Court decision on birthright citizenship? Well, Trump's gotten in the game. Trump to the Supreme Court, reconsider the absolutely insane decision in the birthright citizen case. You think Donald Trump might have enough on his plate? NATO summit in Turkey, major surge in military strikes against the Islamic Republic in Iran, continuing to attack commercial shipping in the Straits of Hormuz. He has, however, managed to find a little time yesterday to say he is going to ask the Supreme Court to do something exceedingly rare, almost never ever happens, and that is to revisit an already settled case, which you can imagine how I feel. They absolutely need to revisit this case because in this case, they got it so wrong. In this instance, the birthright citizenship decision handed down at the end of June, Trump v. Barbara, rejected Trump's Executive Order 6-3 with a 5-justice majority, wrongly holding that the 14th Amendment protects birthright citizenship for children born in the U.S. to parents who are either here unlawfully or temporarily. Not going to get into the whole argument. I did that yesterday. You want to listen? Go to yesterday's show and check it out. But Trump was infuriated, as were the dissenting judges, Thomas, Alito. The president, though, is not given up without a fight. The president argued in his Truth Social post that billboards are popping up for birth tourism facilities, and the SCOTUS decision allows our country to be the victim of a giant scam, which is exactly right. Here's what he posted on Truth. Signs and billboards being put up all over our southern border in Mexico advertising birthright citizenship with deliveries starting at $4,000. Likewise, similar signs going up all across our country. Billions of dollars are going to wind up being illegally made by this scam. Citizenship going basically to anybody willing to pay the price. It will be by far, Trump posts, the #1 way of becoming a citizen. And then the entire family will be allowed to follow. Not sustainable. Nobody saw this coming. American citizenship is not for sale. Trump wants the justices to act now. Now, just because the president is asking, there is no guarantee that the court is going to actually grant the request. In fact, it is a very long shot. Supreme Court rehearings are very rare. Under the court's Rule 44, a petition for rehearing generally has to be filed within 25 days of the judgment, intended to address exceptional circumstances, including significant legal or factual issues the court might have overlooked. You mean like subject to the jurisdiction? Like that part, idiots? The court grants very few of these petitions. A rehearing cannot be ordered unless a justice who joined the majority supports it. American citizenship, folks, I'm just going to say this and then I'm going to get past it. It's not something you can buy, like a piece of jewelry or a handbag. And at this moment, it is. For $4,000, you too can be an American citizen, and that's all it takes. It's a hot button issue, and it should be with more and more people, and we should be screaming at the top of our lungs. Unknown number of foreigners from places like Russia and China. They are known to make huge, elaborate plans to be in this country when their kids are born. You can do that by coming across the border, staying in some flop house, popping out a kid, and then heading back to your country after you get the kid's passport. They're an American. Or you can spend 100,000+, wind up at some nice, comfy, cushy Airbnb. You'd actually have a midwife or a doctor. This is just legalized fraud against the United States. I'm certainly not holding my breath, but the court needs to reconsider this. It really, really does. Virginia judge. I love this one. A Virginia judge has just body slammed Spamberger's gun grab. Take a look at that shot. Look at that. All of these seized. Despite appearances to the contrary, not to mention the very best efforts of Abigail Spanberger, the Virginia governor, and her fellow Democrat goofball morons, there is still some sanity and a little tiny bit of respect for the Constitution remaining in Old Dominion, which is another word for Virginia. For example, a circuit court judge out of Washington County has expanded an injunction against the assault weapons ban that went into effect July 1st to include the entire Commonwealth of Virginia. Judge Campbell, Washington County Circuit Court, issued a letter opinion late Tuesday that amended his June 29th letter opinion, the case of Santola et al. V. Katz et al. In his June opinion, Campbell entered a preliminary injunction against a law that applied to the Virginia State Police and a handful of jurisdictions involved in the litigation. And that meant that the Democrats' ban on assault weapons, which they can't even define, high-capacity magazines, all that went into effect first of this month in most of the state of Virginia. Huge number of Commonwealth attorneys and sheriffs publicly stated, we won't enforce the ban. We're going to ignore it. Good on them. They believed it to be, and it is, a direct violation of the Second Amendment, the right to keep and bear arms. But a significant number of law enforcement agencies in the Commonwealth did not opt out of enforcing the gun grab, which meant millions of Virginians risked being arrested this week if they sell, transfer, manufacture, or import certain semi-automatic firearms categorized by Democrats as assault firearms, which, once again, nobody on the left or the Democrats can seem to exactly define. A lot of ambiguity around what exactly is meant by assault firearms. The left isn't particularly known for their keen knowledge of guns. So enforcing this is going to be a little bit difficult. Those officials can now give a sigh of relief over Judge Campbell's order that the injunction should be applied statewide to the entire Commonwealth, which means Virginians will now be able to buy and sell things like AR-15s, magazines with capacities over 15 rounds in just a matter of days. Statewide injunction goes into effect July 21st to allow adequate time for localities to be notified of the decision. Now, it bears mentioning that in this particular bad piece of legislation that Spanberger signed into law was spawned by State Senator Saddam Aslan Salim, a Democrat representing parts of Fairfax County in Northern Virginia. Salim is a Muslim immigrant from Bangladesh who arrived here in the land of the free and apparently decided, you know what, we have too many guns here. And just wait until the next session in Virginia when Salim attempts to make Islamophobia illegal. That'll be the next thing. Because, if you've already knocked off the Second Amendment, why not go for the First? Hmm. Pour one out tonight for good old grabby Abby Spanberger and her fellow Virginia Democrats once again find themselves the victims of a brutal beatdown by the courts. Sorry, grabby Abby. Hey, at least these blissful weeks pretending the Second Amendment no longer exists will be over. It'll all come to an end very soon. You will learn your lesson. We ain't screwing around. Meanwhile, how we vote these knuckleheads out of office isn't going to get any easier. Congress has decided to go on vacation rather than pass the SAVE Act. A lack of attention on the SAVE Act and the extended Planned Parenthood defunding. Those two fronts alone would be enough to depress conservative turnout in the November elections, and we cannot afford that. You know how important it is, you and I conservatives, to get out there and vote. Congress, of course, enjoys a completely undeserved 4th of July break. Critical election security legislation, backed by the vast majority of Americans. What was the last thing I saw? 84% are behind the SAVE Act. Well, at the moment, it basically remains on life support. Noodle-spined Republicans are checked out, never moved on the SAVE Act, did nothing to stop hundreds of millions of Medicaid money from flowing back to the nation's largest abortion peddler. Not doing anything about these two major important items would be enough to absolutely depress conservative turnout in November's elections. It would prove unbelievably costly to the GOP. You want to hold your power in Congress, GOP? Get off your asses and do something. Trump said during his storm-delayed Independence Day speech, remember this? We want to keep America great, and we will do so by approving the Save America Act. You don't have cheating on the elections anymore. It's very simple. Truer words, my friend. Trump's confidence on passage seems a bit misplaced, since apparently the Republicans in Congress have absolutely no spine. Republican-controlled Senate, in particular, just can't be bothered with protecting U.S. elections. Democrats don't want anything to do with legislation that would require proof of ID, of course. And they don't want limits on mail-in ballots or an end to extended ballot counting. Several Senate Republicans don't want to waste their precious time fighting for a very, very popular election integrity bill. Here it is. Now it's 80%. 80% of the American people want the Save America Act to pass. So why isn't it 80% of Republicans, at least? The only organization that refuses to act is the United States Senate. What's wrong with that picture? insane. Positively insane. Patriot Mobile. They are the mobile service provider that you should be using for your mobile service. Wherever you get your service, if it's not Patriot Mobile, you are spending part of your monthly bill helping to support causes that fight against everything you and I find important in life. PatriotMobile.com/J. My first name, Jay. See right there, J. PatriotMobile.com/J. The link is in our description. Check it out. And don't forget, if you use that link, or you can use the code Jay, your first month's free. Yep, I'm paying your bill for the first month. Sign up now. Make sure that you help to support America's only Christian conservative wireless provider, PatriotMobile.com/J. Thank you, Patriot Mobile, for being a part of the show. Got to support these companies that support what we believe in. How about the idea that hospital food could actually be healthy? I notice in this article they don't mention tasty, but very often healthy does link up with tasty. RFK Jr. and Dr. Oz is going to call on hospitals to make their food healthier. Department of Health and Human Services Secretary Robert F. Kennedy Jr. and Center for Medical and Medicaid Services admin Dr. Oz calling on hospitals to join the efforts to make their food healthier. They said hospitals should be a place of healing. He posted on X a video announcing they were calling for hospitals to commit to serving healthier, minimally processed food and putting nutrition back at the center of patient care. I'm trying to find the actual video. Here we go. Here's the announcement. There you go. So they have started by asking, not legislating, which is kind of cool. They're asking hospitals to kind of sign a pledge to make their food less processed and more healthy. I'll tell you what, there was an occasion, now maybe 12, 13, 15 years ago, where I spent some time in the hospital. I was very, very sick and was there for several months. Yeah, that long, that sick. And the hospital food sucked, as it likely does no matter where you go, even private hospitals. The food in general is horrible, and it's likely not good for you. So, good on you, RFK Jr., Dr. Oz, and try to get our hospital food healthy again. What a great idea. By the way, if you're talking about eating healthy, please do check out. This is not a spot. We just want to remind you that if you pull down the description, you'll see Brickhouse Nutrition. They have a product there called Field of Greens, which is absolutely pure, raw, 100% organic USDA fruits and vegetables. It's all ground up into a powder. Put it in your favorite drink or water. Take it once a day, and all those fruits and veggies you can't be bothered to eat, you're covered. Check them out, Brickhouse Nutrition. Great program, backed by science. Here's a good one. The Odyssey star, John Leguizamo. Now, I loved John Leguizamo's work. He was brilliant. You remember one of the funnier roles he ever played was in To Wu Fong, Thanks for Everything, Julie Newmar. Brilliant, brilliant role, brilliant film. Anyway, he has come out for some reason and claimed that Europe stole 500,000 tons of gold from Latin people. Now, here's the problem. In all of human history, the total amount of gold that has been mined by humans is about 220,000 tons. Sorry, John. He is starring in Nolan's upcoming epic, The Odyssey, and he was spurting off about European colonization. The cultural annihilation that happened to Latin people is the worst in the history of the world, he claimed. The theft of all of our wealth and our gold funded the second half of the resistance. 500,000 tons of gold was taken from us. You wonder, like, here we are, Latin people, 500 years after the conquest, and where are we? Why aren't we further up the food chain? And then he says you start to understand all the practices and oppression that goes into keeping people down. Makes you angry, he added. Now, despite his rather impassioned plea, the historical record shows that only about 220 tons of gold have been mined in all of human history, most of which was after 1950. That is per the World Gold Council. Gold mining does date back to ancient civilizations. Best estimates currently available suggest around 219,890 tons has been mined throughout history. Of that, about 2/3 of that total has happened since the 1950s. So, nice try, John, but not so good on the accuracy of your figures. It could not have been 500,000 tons. Okay? Okay. Finally, this morning, I want to play for you a video. It's about a minute and a quarter long, minute 15. I watched this and I thought, what she has to say is kind of true. I don't want it to be true, but the reality, I'll tell you what, let me play it for you, and then we'll briefly talk about it. But listen closely to what this lady has to say. Huh. What do you think? She's not wrong. It made me think about my grandparents. Now, my mother's father passed away when she was a young child, so nobody really knew him. But my mother's mom, Nana D, my Grammy and Grampy, my dad's mom and dad, I knew them very well. I can recall their faces to this day. I've got pictures of them, of Grampy and me. But I have absolutely no idea who their parents were. None. None at all. And you think about that. You think about even the things like she said, your possessions will all be either thrown away or given away. And I, because I'm a big Japanophile, I have tons of antique Japanese things. And I mean, I've got one of Kurosawa's uh, original booklets where he was practicing his art. Anyway, I have some very valuable things that, I mean, I know their intrinsic value, but most of the people around me do not. They wouldn't think anything about it. That's just some old Japanese junk. Just throw it away. When it is very, very valuable things. And it won't matter once I'm gone. Once I'm gone, I'll probably be remembered by a few folks. I hope I've lived a good life, that for the most part I was helpful, kind, courteous, polite. I was opinionated, no doubt, still am, but it won't matter. And so, much as I fight in my brain against the idea, I think what she's saying, or what it makes me think about, is really the old saying about living your life now, enjoying your life now, while you're here, while it matters. Because once you're gone, you're gone. And in just likely 4 or 5 years after you're gone, you will truly be gone. Kind of sad, but the truth. Thanks for spending your Thursday morning, or at least a part of it, with me. Appreciate you being here. We'll be back tomorrow for the Friday edition. We've got some great sponsors down there. If you would like to donate to the show to help keep us free, keep the lights on, just use that PayPal link. It's legit. It's directly to the show, and all of that donations is used to keep this program free. Like I said, keep the lights on, keep all of our internet bills paid. Use that PayPal link. You can use your credit card, your bank account, whatever. Appreciate it. All right. Enjoy the rest of your Thursday. We'll see you tomorrow.